Step up your solid stamps, the watercolor version. Create unique watercolor projects using your solid stamps. Hello and welcome to Creative Coloring with Iram. This video is part of the Altenew Educators Anything But a Card blog hop and linky party. And to kick off the hop, I am sharing a bookmark I watercolored. For my project, I'm going to use the Leaf Clusters stamp set. I love leaf stamps and this is one of my favorite stamps. I will also use the Tall Tale bookmark die. I've already went ahead and die cut this out of the 9x12 watercolor cardstock. Today I will use dye inks to watercolor. I know I have my 24 pan set out, but I did not use it at all. First, I'll smush a bit of Magenta dye ink onto the watercolor palette. Then I'll apply water to the tag, more on the left side, as in higher up on the left side. Then I'll apply pigment and spread it around. I'll also add splatters of this for a bit of texture. Since the bookmark is already wet, the splatters will bloom and will diffuse, but this will add to the texture. For bigger, more diluted splatters, use more water in the brush. Next, I'll smush some Hydrangea ink onto the palette. You can use any ink colors you like. I will start first by dropping in some of the pigment, just creating a bit of texture. I know it doesn't show on the screen, but I can see the purple bits quite clearly. I'll apply more of Magenta and Hydrangea onto the watercolor palette. And then I'll add this again to the bookmark. I'm just building up layers. You can go ahead and add a darker color right away, but I usually do not do this and I advise against it because you can always start with a light color and add more water to it if you do not like it to maybe soften the look. But you really cannot soften a very bright background. So always start with a light background. You can always build up layers. I'll start by adding splatters of both the colors. And you will notice I'll add splatters with a lot of water content because I want to start by adding lighter splatters and then I'll move towards the darker splatters. Just like I mentioned that you can get rid of the lighter watercolor but not the more pigmented one. So I'll go from the light splatters to the dark splatters, building it gradually, so that the concentrated splatters mix with the diluted ones and soften a little. Next, to tone the color down a bit, since it's quite vibrant, magenta is quite vibrant, I'll add Andromeda, which is a purple color, but it has a gray base to it, so it's a bit muted. Again, I'll add this as splatters and also by dabbing wherever I think this needs to go on. Since this is a lovely muted tone, it will add a really beautiful look to the background. Once done, I'll dry the bookmark. Then I'll stamp the leaf image in Fuchsia Dye Ink. This doesn't need to be perfectly stamped, I just need a guide to watercolor over. You can use a lighter ink if you want to. Once the stamping is done, I will use one of the fine brushes to color and add a darker pink ink, which is magenta. I'll also smoosh some ultraviolet and a bit of cosmic berry onto my palette. I'll start by applying water to the image. Then I'll drop in the magenta pigment. It's your choice how much you want to add the pigment. I want to keep it concentrated on one side. If you want, to this, you can add ultraviolet pigment while the pink is still wet, so you have a nice diffusing effect on its own. If you don't want purple on there, do not add purple. If you want a lighter color, use light ink for stamping. For a lighter look, you can keep the background to a very light color wash, then add stamping using the lightest ink in the color family. Any color family that you want to use. Then you can use a shade darker for watercoloring over the leaves. When I'm going over the branches, I will keep the water content to a minimum. I won't add the purple pigment to all my leaves, and in some leaves, I won't add pink, but will add only purple. So I'll color all my leaves the same way. I'll make sure to add concentrated pigment at one edge, at left or right, or at the connecting point. This is what will give an interest to the image. So all I'm doing is applying water onto the leaf and dropping in pigment, making sure that I am adding more concentrated pigment to one side of the leaf, preferably where I think there's shadow or there's no light, but I'm really not following any light or shadow rules. After I'm done coloring the leaves, I'll take a very diluted Andromeda dye ink and start adding sprigs. These will be very muted, that it will look like as if they are in the background and were added beforehand. You can totally skip this step if you want to. I'm adding this to make my area, the leafy portion, a bit more fuller. Once done, I'll add more splatters to add to the artsy look. After heat setting the bookmark, I'll add more prominent splatters. This means the splatters are going to be more pigmented, more concentrated with less water content. If you think you've added more splatters than needed, just pick them up with a clean brush or add water splatters to tone them down. And I know I'm really overdoing this, but I want to actually. Once I'm happy with the look, I'll stop and heat set it. To add more detail, I'll use color pencils and I'll color the leaves. Not entirely color the leaves, but I'll just redefine the branches and add a bit more shading. I usually try my best to add all the details using paints only, but I think these pencils will look good here and add so much to the image. I'll keep switching between the purple and the pink, and I'm trying not to overcolor the leaves so that the watercolor is still visible. I'll only add the pencil detail where I want to show shadow. As I mentioned before, that I'm making this for the educators blog hop, and the theme is anything but a card. We also have a linky party, so you can join too. You are welcome to share layouts, mini albums, decor, tags, anything as long as it's not a card. Please check out the blog for inspiration from the educators, and remember that we have prizes on each stop of the hop. So all I'm going to do now is add fine black paint splatters and tie a ribbon. You can even die cut another bookmark and adhere it at the back side to make it more sturdy. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Bye!
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.